Papaya plots, the £9.2 million fruit smuggling operation. The shipment that started it all. A cool October dawn. The docks are quiet, the cranes moving like slow, mechanical birds. A container is unloaded, labelled as fruit, papayas, stamped with export codes and paperwork that looks proper on paper. To the casual eye, it is simply part of the flow of trade that keeps supermarkets stocked and markets humming. But hidden inside those crates, wrapped and concealed among ripe fruit, are bricks of cocaine, 92 kilos of it. A shipment like this is not the kind of thing that happens by accident. It is a deliberate industrial operation, logistics, cash, routes, and people willing to turn a basic commodity into a drug pipeline. This is the story of how a crime gang used the ordinary, papaya boxes, to hide something extraordinary and dangerous, how local tyre yards and quiet warehouses became a staging ground for a multi-million-pound supply line, and how detectives painstakingly unwound that network. It is the story of Sanchez, Heffernan, Levi, Depass, and Matthew Jackson, names now associated with the plot to smuggle cocaine into Bradford, and the couriers, drivers, and enforcers who carried the scheme forward. The idea, hiding in plain sight. They moved in the spaces where legitimate commerce meets criminality. A fruit shipment arrives from Mexico, dozens of pallets, boxes stacked in neat rows. On paper, it is routine. In practice, it is risk. Every crate is a potential inspection, every shipment a gamble. The gang's chosen method relied on this very scale. Hide contraband among legal goods, disperse it across the supply chain, and trust the odds that most cargo will not be closely searched. On the 4th of October 2023, a consignment marked as Papaya arrived for delivery to Bradford. Inside, officers later found 92 kilograms of cocaine, packaged and camouflaged, with an estimated street value of £9.2 million. The discovery would prove the starting point of a long, methodical inquiry by West Yorkshire Police's Programme Precision Team. The setup, a tyre yard in Low Moor. To understand the scale, step back from the single consignment and look at the machinery behind it. Organised importation requires networks, people who book containers, agents who process paperwork at ports, drivers who move goods inland, and places where illicit cargo can be separated from the goods that conceal it. In this case, that place was a tyre yard in Low Moor, a nondescript industrial yard on the edge of Bradford. It was here the consignment was taken, where papayas were opened and the contraband extracted, counted and split for onward movement. Local detectives pieced together CCTV, phone data and witness statements. They found that Jack Stalley had travelled from Bradford to collect the consignment, that the load was driven to Levi Depass's tyre yard, and that the operation then split the drugs into portions intended for different handlers. The network, drivers, runners and couriers. The human chain matters. One man's job is to drive, another's is to store, another's is to distribute. In this plot, Dominic Lowe was seen passing kilograms to Adil Ditta. When officers moved to arrest Ditta, he fled in a VW Golf. The car was later discovered abandoned with bags of cocaine inside. Gary Sinclair carried another portion, 57 kilos, to Shipley, where he was stopped and arrested. The telephone evidence, investigators say, connected the hands that passed the boxes, linking the lower-level couriers to the organisers. And in modern investigations, it's the phones that never lie, timestamps, geolocation pings, and messages that map out routes and rendezvous points. The bosses, Heffernan, Depass and Jackson. The investigation did not stop at the couriers. It pushed higher up the chain, seeking the people who orchestrated the enterprise. Detectives followed bank transactions, examined vehicle movements, and correlated courier activity with addresses and registrations. Their inquiries identified Sanchez, Heffernan, Levi Depass and Matthew Jackson as the principal organisers, men who arranged the import, controlled the storage sites, and coordinated the distribution across Bradford and beyond. Arrests followed. Some were taken quickly, others required months of surveillance. The goal wasn't just to seize the drugs, it was to dismantle the entire structure. The trial, pieces of the puzzle. When the case reached court, the Crown's story was clear. This was an organised, large-scale supply conspiracy. Prosecutors laid out the papaya shipment, the extraction at the tyre yard, and the chain of distribution that followed. They presented CCTV, recovered drugs, the abandoned car, and telephone evidence linking every name to a role. Defence teams challenged parts of the story, who knew what, who touched what, but the digital trail told its own truth. Each phone call, each message, each GPS ping placed the men where the cocaine was. The jury took little time to decide. The verdict and sentencing. When sentencing day came, the courtroom was silent. The judge called the operation an industrial-scale conspiracy conducted with cynical precision. Sanchez, Heffernan, Levi, Depass, and Matthew Jackson received long custodial terms. Their couriers, Jack Stalley, Dominic Lowe, Gary Sinclair, and Adil Ditta, were also sentenced to years behind bars. For the police, it was a complete takedown. The leadership, logistics, and street network all removed in one sweep. Aftermath, unraveling the money trail. Sentences closed the people's side, but detectives still wanted the money. The gang had earned millions, washing cash through tire yards, vehicle sales, and fake invoices. Officers traced accounts, froze assets, and shut down premises used for storage. Every pound seized meant less power for the network to rebuild. The case became a showcase for joint working, Border Force, the NCA, and local teams acting in sync. It showed how collaboration and data could pull apart even the most sophisticated smuggling rings. The lesson: how trade becomes a weapon. The Papaya plot is a perfect example of how organized crime hides inside everyday trade. Cargo concealment works because global shipping moves too fast and too big to check it all. A few forged documents, a trusted importer, a handful of insiders, and the border becomes a revolving door. But digital footprints make secrecy harder. Phones, texts, bank wires, CCTV, all combine into a forensic map that tells the story after the fact. It's how modern policing fights a global problem that never really ends. A box of papayas shouldn't be a front-page story, but in this case, it became one. A symbol of how greed infiltrates the most ordinary corners of life. For every container that's caught, others will slip through, but every conviction like this tightens the net. As one officer put it, organized crime hides behind normality. Our job is to look harder. The papaya crates keep coming through Britain's ports. Most are harmless, some are not. And every once in a while, detectives find that a simple shipment of fruit tells the story of a £1 million empire built on deception.